What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition, another installment of the Faqs Project. I am your host for the day, James Grandmaster Faqs Voice. A lot to get to today because this latest episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier has got everybody in their fucking feelings. And I say that plainly. All right. So it's the Ballad of the Black Vet. And we see exactly where this is going. And it's sad to say, but I'm gonna actually miss the series. It was only available for 6 episodes. As much as we thought going in that it was pretty much a detail from that first episode where Sam felt that he was obligated in some way, form, or fashion to get rid of the shield and give it back to the government because he felt in his heart of hearts that he was not worthy. That he was not worthy, no shape or form, to uphold the title of Captain America. And nobody understood him for the choices that he had. And initially, the decision that he was making propelled pretty much most of the conflict throughout the series. So initially with him turning in that shield then goes to John Walker. From him turning in that shield, it propels Bucky to team up with him in order to, I guess, be the opposing challenge to the Flag Smashers when that whole thing is abruptly happening. What we didn't seem to see, we did not know that it was going to be a recollection of things that have happened in the Marvel universe within the American military over the past 50 years. And this is all revealing itself after Captain America got out of ice. This is the initiation of Isaiah Bradley as not even a black Captain America, but at that point, a recipient of the super soldier serum. And not only him, but multiple, countless other black vets. Some got sick. He had to witness them not being themselves. In the comics, most of those soldiers that received the serum did not bode well. They weren't right mentally. Some of them weren't right physically. Some of them died initially. If it's any resemblance to the Tuskegee experiments, these are the things that pretty much happen. And if anybody does not know, the Tuskegee experiments are pretty much the injection of syphilis and various other countless vaccinations and illnesses in African Americans during a time where we were used as guinea pigs. So Isaiah Bradley's story, if you look at it from that context, is a real story. So upon them initially meeting him for the first time, and of course, Bucky had the horrible opportunity of meeting Isaiah Bradley on the field for the first time and got his ass whooped. Super soldier to super soldier, he got his ass whooped. And a lot of things have changed because with Isaiah Bradley and the legacy of what he had done without Steve Rogers even being there, what he had done to earn the medals that he achieved, if he even earned medals at all. Because if you remember plainly from Captain America First Avenger, Steve Rogers got put on a pedestal as the not the first recipient of the super soldier serum, but because pretty much he was the golden boy. He was the great white hope. Blonde hair, blue eyes, marketable. Uh, of course, when if you remember First Avenger, and people call it for what it is, it's actually a pretty good movie. They utilized Steve Rogers for military propaganda during World War II. They put him in like USO type concerts where they had like the singing and the dancers, and then all of a sudden like the grand voila, like the popping out of the cake moment was Steve Rogers like coming up holding a motorcycle with a girl on top, and it was like, and they had like the music playing in the background with the like almost like the Stars and Stripes bootleg bullshit songs in order, and it was like a recruitment tool. Yeah, in his terms, it was a recruitment tool, but he wised up because none of that when he went on ice was his fault. He lost a friend of his, which that happens in war. Um, he lost people that he fought to save, and in the meantime, there will never be another Steve Rogers. And when he wised up, I think he knew exactly where he was going to be when we saw him last in Avengers Endgame. When he came back as an old man, you kind of figured that day was coming. If they were going to end the character of Steve Rogers, how are they going to do it? How are they initially going to, let the character just go away? Not necessarily kill the character like they did Iron Man, as devastating as that was, but he met his purpose, right? But the same can't be said for Isaiah Bradley. Because the more that we talk about it, we talk about the fact that, in the comics, Isaiah Bradley had the brain capacity of a 6-year-old. He did not know himself that well. He joined the program probably for the same reason that I joined the military. He joined because he was broke. And he felt like the only means in making a career for himself was to join the military. Probably the same reason that I joined. And I did it to acquire money for school, to go to school, because it was 100% tuition assistance. Yeah, I fed into the bullshit when I got recruited. But, initially, it proved its purpose. Did I know that a war was going to break out when I was in? No, absolutely. Nobody ever thinks that. When a war like World War II broke out, the quality of life and the way of living for a lot of people was on the line. And they felt like if they didn't do something right then and there, that they could perish. So I felt like Isaiah Bradley and the people who participated in the Super Soldier Serum program probably had the right frame of mind initially when they were doing what they were doing. But to be treated as guinea pigs was something, of course, that they did not sign up for. But when you're mandated by the government to do certain things and you're giving your orders, there's no way you can turn away. I remember just after 2001, I was stationed in North Dakota in 2001. 9/11 happened. 2 weeks later, I was in Saudi Arabia. But in the meantime, um, there was a good amount of us that had to get anthrax shots. Yes. For people that don't know, the appropriation of vaccines and everything like that. If anybody does remember that time in 2001, there was a couple scares of anthrax being showing up in people's houses, either senators or random politicians. Actually, news media outlets as well were also getting like these envelopes with anthrax in them. So therefore, a vaccination came out for anthrax. We turned into guinea pigs that day. Before going, we had to take anthrax shots and mandated if you did not take it, you were kicked out of the military. So therefore, your quality of life turns into a choice. It's either I either go home and more than likely I'm not going to be shit because I wasn't shit before I went in, or I could continue this journey, take this shot, and move on. A lot of people took the shot, including myself. There was also a couple of people that did not, and they were no longer with us after the fact. So I look at the decision that Isaiah Bradley had to make with relative similarities. And it's not a good thing to think about, that, the injection of something foreign into your body would ultimately be the predicator of you just moving on through life. Your quality of life could have shifted. The paradigm could have totally swayed in any direction. So when we look at like the whole series of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you got to realize that regardless of who you see as the protagonist or the antagonist within this whole storyline, the main characters in this are all veterans. Bucky, Sam Wilson, John Walker. You could even throw in Lamar Wilson because he played a part and he was also a veteran in there. But to be the face of the military, the creation of a title of Captain America, to be the face of the United States military is tough, because then you become the face of everything good and bad that happens. You understand? And it's weird, it's weird because in today's day and age, that would be a difficult title to deal with. We're absolutely a superpower, but we are not seen in the eyes of most for what we do as a military arms faction as something as positive. We're not. We're not. Whenever there's conflict around the globe, the U.S. military is there. Bravery is not an option. You're going to get that. But it's deep in a way, because you look at this situation. Power is one of the biggest things that you see in this show. You see that in almost a jealousy trait between Sam and Bucky and John. John looks at Sam and Bucky as like, he never perpetuates the fact that they're Avengers, but initially he's like, hey, I'm on your side. I can be on your team. I'm just as good, if not better. than Steve Rogers. He almost has this cockiness to him, right? Which is fine. You see that in vets if they know exactly what they're doing in the heat of battle. You see that. You see an overwhelming confidence, right? But then you also come to understand that Bucky and Sam have witnessed the feats of Captain America on an extremely, extremely large scale. They've known what this man has done. And yet for somebody to just show up in that uniform with the shield just looks fucking weird. It does. It looks weird. To the point where, you know, when Bucky first sees him, he's like, Jesus Christ. Like, you have no clue. Have no clue. And Sam is kind of aimlessly and, you know, walking aimlessly in those first 3 episodes. Of course, he's dealing with a lot of things that are happening with his family while he's serving. And at this point, you know, he's almost contracted by the military. He is not a member of the United States Air Force because he was in that flight program, which basically gave him the Falcon wings. He's more so in contracting. He's there earning a check. Okay. But to put it plainly, he had to play the role of observer in those first 3 episodes when he initially met Isaiah Bradley for the first time, and not coming to the realization that although Bucky was out there causing rampage as the Winter Soldier for the past 50 years, there was somebody else out there required by the United States military hunting him. And it happened to be a black man that was hidden from the world, not put on a stage like Steve Rogers was. That man got locked away. In the MCU terms, 30 years. If you read the comic books, you know he got sent to prison for 17 years because he found out that there was profit sharing happening amongst the super soldier serum program between Hydra and the U.S. government. Hydra had already infiltrated the U.S. government and was figuring out ways to get that serum out there as much as possible, to get more of it and more of it made, free trade back and forth between the government and Hydra. And he got sent to jail because he found all that shit out. He broke all his men out, and the thing is, he knew of a secret that he couldn't put out there. And what did they do to him? They turned him into a guinea pig again. Because of all the people that got damaged emotionally and physically from the serum, he was pretty much at ease. He could fight it at a level playing field in the scale. He could dominate any type of command or any type of presence in which he took into a challenge. It was fair game for him. He came out slightly normal. And yet he went to jail. In that time, family members passed away. He had to come home probably just to him and his grandson at that time, not knowing probably either what happened to his son or his daughter. Not sure where in that parts of the story, not sure where that goes. But that's even rough. To the point where you know, John Walker, of course, gets stripped of that shield because with him putting in the killing of a terrorist at that point. And no, I do not blame John Walker for doing what he did to a terrorist and happened to be in a public setting. But the thing is, because it was done in a public setting, the United States government had to act on it. It's pretty much everywhere on tape in front of everyone. This is what happens when stuff doesn't get swept under the rug. You have to act on it. Guaranteed, if John Walker killing a member of the Flag Smashers in public without cameras watching, you know, people would just watch it and there were no cameras present, He might have got away with it. Absolutely. But the fact that Sam and Bucky saw it as well, they felt the need to confront it. They had to get the shield from the guy. And more so, not only to eliminate the problem, but had to take the shield too. You know, the one thing that they were after was the shield. Okay, cool. They got the shield. John Walker gets court-martialed. And I kind of felt a little bit of empathy for him in that moment, you know, because the things that he mentioned to the panel of all the senators and the politicians basically over there chastising him about everything that he did wrong and everything like that. But what he put back, what he countered with was that he was mandated. He was mandated and trained to do everything that was told of him to do by any means. You know, he was pretty much put into the situation to dissolve the problem of the Flag Smashers. He probably felt in his heart of hearts that he was on his way to doing that. Necessarily, when he got the super serum, that escalated the problem for him. But he's a soldier. He's trained as such. He's going to get mandated to do exactly what he's told to do. This is not no critical thinking program to where you get to do things off the fly. This is not of your own will. Your decisions are not yours. You get an operative. You don't stray away from the operative. You just go. That's it. It's literally the guy on the track waiting for the gun to go off. That's it. This isn't rocket science. This is not a jigsaw puzzle. It's a cause and effect. And, you know, by the end of that meeting, I mean, how could you feel? He's telling everybody that he is Captain America. Da, 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 da. That's at that point, the power of him having the super soldier serum inside of him has now struck a chord. He feels as though that he is the new reincarnation of Steve Rogers. But then when he's sitting down there disheveled, you know, by what basically he had to witness with what just going on. In walks La Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. All right. For anybody that does not know who this lady is, and she was played by the lovely Julia Louis-Dreyfus from Seinfeld. For anybody that did not catch that, she has some organizations that she has ties to, SHIELD being one of them, which is all fine. You know, I remember she was in Project Leviathan, but her alias is Madam Hydra. Yes. That's a big deal because you know, that could possibly play in a couple things. One, it could play into the fact that, you know, maybe because now he's not within the government, that he's out, could he get snatched up by an agency? What that propelled to me, because we're still on the terms of being a veteran, was the fact that was like the military contractor speech and recruitment. So a lot of guys, when they get out of the military, if you're a combat veteran and you're in infantry and you feel as though, you know, the real world just isn't for you, I got to get back into the fight. You can work as a military contractor. That does not mean that you're doing like construction and no bullshit like that. You are an armed militia fighter. for not for the U.S. government anymore. You're a private contractor. You work for a company. You get paid. You're a mercenary. So when I saw that Valentina had showed up in this setting, could it mean that Shield is trying to recruit him? Could it be Zemo's plot within being sent to Wakanda? If she is the means of the recruitment of the Thunderbolts, that could also play into a part. If Hydra is back into the fold, and if the Red Skull has found some way, shape, or form to get back to Earth after being on Volmir, because of course he has completed his task, John Walker is the right person you want to go to, because it only took for that millisecond of him being kicked out of the military. He has no rank. He has no back pay. He's not going to get benefits. Shit. He got to make a substantial way of living. I'm pretty sure that little girlfriend or fiance of his, if they want to live some type of happy life, John got to earn some dough. And now he could live a life of crime, or he could jump in here into this military contractor route and solve it out himself. But ultimately, you see Sam returning to Baltimore to see Isaiah Bradley and wanting to return the shield to him, which I thought was weird. It's like, sir, you met this man one time. He told you his story. He could give two shits about that shield. He could give a fuck about living in the United States. I mean, I'm pretty sure if the man got a plane ticket and a nice place to stay once he got there, he would have head overseas on the first thing smoking. But probably in terms of being there for his grandson, he might not want to do that. So that heart to heart with Sam, old vet to somebody recently retired and still within the fight himself, that struck a chord. If you held no empathy in that scene and did not feel a well of emotions, watching Isaiah tell the fact that what was done to him was wrong. So much so in the fact that he had to witness a lot of people, a lot of black veterans on his side die for nothing. And yet he continued to live. But in the fact of him continuing to live, he had to suffer the most. Tortured. Steve Rogers got medals of valor. Isaiah Bradley got scars in his sides, blood pulled from his body. It wasn't right. Wasn't right at all, you know? And he told him, regardless of Sam's relationship with Steve and what may have been passed on to him, what self-respecting black man would want to be Captain America? And I saw like the arguments start to happen today on Twitter, talking about Rhodey's turn as the Iron Patriot and everything like that. That is not Captain America. We're talking about the face of the United States military. The flag bearer. Like none of that made sense to me. Like people bringing in like smaller operatives. You know, Rhodes has always been a Stark guy. You know, the comparison between the two is way too far apart. So much so that it doesn't even make sense. So when we get to the end of this, It's pretty much at that point, you know, Sam feels as though he needs to prove everybody wrong, that he can be Captain America. Starts working out with the shield and everything. And it's like, if he's going to draw any type of inspiration from this, how's it going to work? In that moment, you know, Bucky understood all the arguments that he had with him about him giving up that shield. He never for once, through like the first 4 episodes, brought into accord that Steve had given that shield to a black man that was going to have to represent that in America with the slight false pretense that it was going to look good. Like, Bucky, you grew up in the 30s and 40s. You ain't know this shit was going to like be perpetuated and look a certain way to people that live in God knows where. You know, the Bible Belt of America. You think they're going to accept a black Captain America? They probably didn't even accept a black president. You expect them to accept a black Captain America? Yeah, your mind. Come on. But, you know, and the way that Bucky put it out there that he finally understood was probably, I didn't even see it as apologetic. I saw it as somebody that finally understood. And in that moment that he did understand, it didn't seem like an apology, but it was like, I get it. I'm sorry. I should have seen that from jump. But the rest of how this is going to unfold, you know, we'll see. I mean, literally by those mid-credit scenes, what we saw of John Walker was him having his Iron Man moment, because he's over he didn't grab some shit from the junkyard and started making his own shield. Really? Like, you do realize the other shield is made of vibranium. Where did you get this scrap metal from that you putting together? And all of a sudden, you know, he knows how to weld. You know, like, come on, this is wild. But that episode, that episode put this over the top. I'm gonna miss this season and how this is going to play out into future events within Marvel. It's going to be good to see exactly what is in. Look, we know what's in the fucking suitcase. Let's be real. The people of Wakanda got my man Sam a whole outfit where he can be Captain America. Might even, you know, he might even got his wings back. Who knows? But if not, if you do realize from the episode when his wings got torn off, Joaquin Torres, when Sam becomes Captain America, Joaquin Torres becomes Falcon. He becomes the new Falcon, if you remember from the comics. So his presence is kind of solidified right there from being in this show. But that's all that I got today, man. I appreciate y'all joining me. Thank you for joining me on another Faqs Project. And we're going to get at this again. Faqs Project, we are out.